right, final word, session number 6. In this session, we're going to have a lot of fun, and you'll know exactly. We're actually on page 3.5. Hopefully you have the printed or the downloaded PDF lesson right in front of you. As we're going to be going through this lesson titled Leadership Traits in Comparison to Movie Titles. As I'll be talking with you and naming these movies which you're most likely familiar with, here somewhere on the screen you're going to see the image of that specific movie appear, so you'll be able to relate to it visually. But the reason why I chose to use specific movie titles, you're going to see like the systematic pattern to them. Through some of them maybe you'll laugh, through some of them you'll probably be able to relate to some of them you're like, that's kind of interesting. But as I go through this, I want you to also in the back of your mind, picture yourself that which some of the movies that you watched throughout your life that you'll be able to see certain leadership characteristics and traits, or maybe where you've seen yourself being portrayed in the sense of the qualities that you possess as a leader. So let's dive into this. We're on page 3.5, and number 1 is Superman, Man of Steel. And this how it relates to leadership characteristics and traits. There are the ultimate leaders which every organization strives to have. They are strong-willed, self-motivated, unstoppable, not easily offended, always there to save the day. But of course, their worst enemy or co-worker is kryptonites, those who possess a kryptonite heart and an attitude. So these type of leaders, every organization looks for. There he is, there she is. It's him, it's her. No, look at them. They possess this character, this quality. In other words, they have so much energy in them. They're always out there, as the character of Superman, to save the day. They're always out there to make someone's day good. And I think these type of leaders are being coveted in every organization. That they're stable, that they're strong, both in the mind, in the heart, and the spirit. And it's very important for us as leaders that we need to understand that it's not that you're trying to put on a character of someone else, but you know you have this strong heart that you're allowing God to use in whatever sphere you're at. So number 2, characteristic and leadership trait in comparison to the movies, Mission Impossible. These leaders create such a high standards through various rules and regulations that it only makes a team or an organization take a deep breath of air. But if these leaders are able to successfully out the vision, the goal, or the plan in a realistic way, then the mission will be possible. So I'm sure now you can relate to some of the Mission Impossible movies. It seems like, oh my goodness, this task is so hard. But this type of leader, they understand that if the task is hard, and then sometimes they could exaggerate certain things, but if you're able to persevere, if you're able to go through, then that impossible task and assignment all of a sudden becomes possible. So, of course, it's always good to have such leaders that, in a sense, they're almost risk takers. All right, number 3, the Fast and the Furious. Doesn't matter which of those 8 franchise series that you watched. So, what is this leadership trait from the Fast and the Furious? These leaders are full of energy, passion, and charisma, which are good traits to have, but they also need to understand that not everyone in their organization or in their team will be able to keep up with them. It's great when such leaders possess an inner drive of an 800 horsepower turbocharged race car. In other words, that's their inner enthusiasm and drive. But it's these leaders are not positioned on the racetrack by themselves, but are positioned to lead others successfully. In other words, it always seems like these leaders are on a racetrack. They're always trying to outrace one another. No. When you work in an organization that involves a team, you have to work as a team. You race as a team, you walk as a team, you operate as a team. Even though if different team members have different responsibilities, you have to understand you're not on a racetrack. Who's going to be the first one to accomplish this task? No. It's not about a race. It's not about a race. And when we can learn to work together as a team, then we'll be able to become much more victorious, and obviously everybody gets the trophy. Or the first place gold medal, or whatever it may be. Number 4, Titanic. So what does Titanic have to do with leadership traits? Well, let's find out. At first, these leaders, they look big and strong. But in the process, they drown or they destroy the whole organization or the team because of pride and ignorance. And for those of you who obviously saw the movie Titanic or know its history, just because it's big and strong, it does not mean it's not unsinkable. We had a small portion, which is usually typically 10% of the iceberg, sometimes 15% of the iceberg, that peeks out of the water. and the rest of it is below the sea level. They did not have that detailed insight and knowledge, and of course that piece of ice that was just sticking out of the ocean ended up sinking this supposedly unsinkable ship. So this is, let me just quickly kind of digress and share this concerning oftentimes pride. We need to be very, very careful that just because our ministry has grown to a certain stature, just because our business, our organization, or whatever we might be doing for God's kingdom, or whatever God has entrusted us with, be careful not to get carried away and prideful by saying, hey, look, it was my time I've invested into this. It was my energy, my finances, so on and so forth. My idea is, no, be very, very careful. Because if you have the attitude of a Titanic, God will place an iceberg into your life, or an iceberg will become in your life, and you can come down to some very devastating results. Number 5, another movie, Dumb and Dumber. It was very funny. I ended up watching it in the movie theater. So what is this leadership trait in the comparison to Dumb and Dumber? Well, let's find out. At times you just simply wonder, where in the world did your leader, boss, manager, somebody within the church came from, and where in the world is he or she trying to lead you? Oftentimes they are lost or confused in which direction to go and where they need to start. I mean, sometimes, we become surrounded with these people, you're thinking, oh my goodness, this person, where are they leading us? I mean, it's not that they're not able to persuade proper conversation, stuff like that. It's just you're watching them, you're observing them, and they don't know where to start, where to begin. You're literally sometimes wondering, how in the world did this person become my boss, my manager, so on and so forth. And I've known some of these people. They've, some of them own companies. Some of them have, other things, like bigger things they're involved in. And you're thinking, man, you're even surprised how they've even become so successful, or how far they've gone in life or in their business, knowing who they are as a person, nature. So, of course, this is not to judge anyone, but just to bring alignment by saying, hey, look, we're not running some kind of a club or some kind of a show or some kind of a circus. God has entrusted us with very important things. Number 6, Star Wars. Dun, dun, dun. My kids, from time to time, they will sing the tune. Star Wars. Oftentimes, at your usual organizational meeting or gathering, you get confused in regards to which side or whose side you should be on. These type of leaders create a stressful and intense environment, which results in friction amongst the rest of the team members. So the question now is, whose side are you on? And of course, this becomes challenging whenever certain leaders, they kind of create a situation, a scenario where they make you choose their side by saying, hey, look, our boss told us to do this, but the boss is not quite sure, so we need to go out there and do that. And now all of a sudden you're stuck in a pickle, thinking, well, should I kind of follow the lead of my supervisor or with the original assignment that the boss gave us? Or this, sadly to say, happens oftentimes in the church. The senior pastor, the lead pastor, has a specific focus, specific agenda, but then the associate pastor or somebody from within the lower department begins to stray away and do other things because they don't fully agree with the pastor. And typically, what usually happens? Typically, these things lead to divisions. These things typically lead to church splits. These things tend to lead to major frictions within the body of Christ. And I have a whole lesson devoted to that, chapter 21, talking about the spirit of Lucifer, it's like a cancer within leadership. And we have to be very, very careful. You're not out there to cause friction. You're not out there to fight with your fellow brother and sister in the Lord. Whether they have a higher position or lower the position than you, it doesn't matter. We're out there to build one kingdom. Number 7, kindergarten cop. You can already see the picture with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I talked about him in one of the previous lessons. Just as funny as it may sound, but these type of leaders may have an authoritative position, but they treat others as little children. Ain't that so? Just because you have a position and title wherever you're at, it does not mean you need to treat me somebody that's lower than you or treat me as a little child. I had to go through that certain season where I even had, some people tell me, well, Stan, you're still going through a certain formation, give it some time. And I'm like, look, you're treating me like a little kid. I'm already an adult. I'm already of a certain age. You don't have to talk to me like that. You don't need to kind of beat around the bushes, so on and so forth. So hopefully that you do not have this trait as the kindergarten cop. Number 8, Rocky Balboa. These leaders may start off small and possibly even unqualified. But because of their inner determination and hard work, they're able to bring great success to their organization as they overcome their Ivan-sized obstacles. I must break you. Anyway, so of course, it's only a movie, and physically speaking, Ivan Drago technically could have had him, but anyway, for argument's sake, the whole concept is, it may seem like in the beginning, these people, they start off small. It seems like their obstacles are Ivan's size, but because of their determination, their inner drive, because of their discipline, prayer, fasting, determination, trust and believing in God, next you notice you broke through and you won the championship. In other words, you accomplished the things you wanted to accomplish, even though it seemed like it was impossible. And this is very important for us to continually trust in God. This is very important for us to continue to believe in God, by having this humility in our heart, by saying, Lord, I know I'm not qualified for this, but I'm believing in you. I'm trusting in you. That no matter how huge the obstacle may be, that Ivan-sized obstacle, you'll give me enough strength and power to go through. And at the end of it all, we'll be singing the Eye of the Tiger. Number 9, the Terminator. Another Arnold Schwarzenegger. So how does leadership relate to Terminator? Let's find out. These leaders are practically unstoppable or unbreakable. They're not afraid of tough assignments or challenges or obstacles that come on their way. They always look forward to greater challenges, and oftentimes you would hear them say, I'll be back for more. It's true. If you're a leader, you need to embrace challenges. Now, are you going to be pounded in the process when you begin to face those challenges? Sure you will. But when you have that inner, again, determination to withstand them, and you eventually complete that assignment, you're going to be back for more and saying, hey, what's the next thing? And I think this is one exciting thing when it comes to us as God's children. God gives us a certain assignment, a certain task for a specific season, and He just watches us to see what we're going to do. Yes, oftentimes we'll complain, we'll moan and groan, oh God, this is tough, I don't have the finances, how am I going to do this? But eventually, once we complete one thing with God's grace, and then we complete another one, we're able to do another thing. Of course, it's going to create excitement in us. And next you notice, we're literally sometimes begging, God, what's next? I can't wait for our next outreach event. I can't wait for our next service. I can't wait for our next assignment, our next project, our next proposal, and so on and so forth. In other words, you create this excitement within yourself. So having the characteristics of the Terminator. And last but not least, Braveheart. Powerful and great movie by Mel Gibson. So what is a Braveheart leadership trait? These type of leaders are hard to find, especially in such a competitive and diverse society that we have. They are just ordinary individuals, but they possess a passionate heart. This is very important. Their passion and pain makes them very determined at achieving the impossible tasks, even if it costs their reputation, status, position, or even their own life. This is very important. And obviously, as the movie portrays, that he stood fighting for his people, and eventually he ended up paying the price for that. So this is very important for us to possess this leadership characteristic and this leadership trait, that we're willing to pay the price, even if it costs us finances, even if it costs us money. And we've heard many stories of great men and women of God losing their lives. Like the powerful ministry, the Voice of the Martyrs, or what we're hearing in the Muslim countries, in very heavily oppressed countries where Christians are being persecuted. We hear about these, and if not, then do your own research. There's many of God's children throughout the whole world that are being martyred, that are being persecuted, that are being harassed, that are being imprisoned because of the faith, because of what they believe in. And I think this is one of the key components where God is also trying to challenge us to take us out of our comfort zone, to have this trait as Braveheart did. They said, you know what? I'm going to go out there and fight for this cause, even if it's going to cost me my reputation, even if it's going to cost me finances, even if it could cost me even my own job. Of course, I have wisdom, but in a sense, even if it's going to cost me some friendships, relationships, or even possibly my life. So as I conclude with this, it's very important for us to understand that whether, I just use this funny comparison with the movies, and hopefully, you can have your own movies that you can learn certain leadership characteristics and traits, but it's important for us to understand that God has equipped us with such great and powerful tools that you don't need to be out there walking like Superman or, Mr. Braveheart or the foolish kindergarten cop or Dumb and Dumber, but we can allow by God's grace for Him to work in us and through us. And at the end of it all, when we stand before our Heavenly Father, He's going to play that DVD player or whatever it's going to be in heaven, say, now let us both watch your whole life as a movie script from the day you were born until you died. And I believe, I've heard, some people say this, that, when we stay before God, He's going to show us our whole life as a movie script. Well, maybe if that's the case, hopefully the things that God will be able to see together with us as we're eating popcorn, there'll be some things we'll be crying with, some things we'll be like, oh Lord, I can't believe I did that. And other things eventually at the end of all, we'll be able to hear our Heavenly Father say, come enter good and faithful servant. So I'm going to be wrapping up this session as we're going to be going to our last and final session and wrapping up the whole curriculum. God bless you.